Okay, good morning, everyone.
Wait,
Welcome.
sorry, Doug. I'm going to mute all, so you're going to right now have to unmute yourself. Go.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Chamber Candidates Forum meeting. It's Wednesday. Sun is shining, at least for the time being, and welcome to everybody. Cindy is muted, everyone. So when you're ready to ask a question or otherwise speak, please take a look and make sure you know where things stand on your screen. And we'll get started. Cindy, are we ready? Okay. All right. So, one of the things that I always find remarkable, and I've talked to Neil and Rich and other people about this, and certainly Christine, is that it's an interesting dynamic when you have all these great things in your life, and you have a wonderful job and family, and you're healthy, and so on and so forth, and you still find some time and some desire to give of yourself. And something to admire about each of these candidates is that they're willing to sacrifice time out of their already robust lives to serve others. And that's inspirational. And we like that. Martin Luther King said something like, persistent question in life is, what are you doing in the service of others? And, so many of you here serve, the town and the state and so on and so forth. And, we appreciate it and we admire it. And speaking of which, I'd like to welcome, those who serve, Christine Hunchofsky, Ken Cutler, Simeon Breyer, Jordan Isro, Rich Walker, Bob Mayerson, and Cindy. Is there anybody else on who I've missed, or I missed any names? Because I didn't have this in the script. I was just going off memory. Anybody else?
I would like to say that I can see everybody, but if we miss somebody, please accept our apologies. But I know I see Jackie Waymeyer's here.
Yeah. Jackie,
And
Nancy,
Cutler.
everybody from the city. Yeah, certainly. BSO is here. So thank you very much for everything. With that, I wanted to introduce a fantastic guy who himself is now finding ways to give back to the chamber and getting much more involved in what's going on in the city, and is actually the chair of a new program that I should say Cindy was really the brainchild of this, modeling it after Leadership Broward, and it's called Impact Parkland. And we're going to be rolling that out over the next year. And, with that, I want to introduce our moderator, Frank Farro. He's a proud husband and father. He's a tech executive with 30 years of experience at companies like Bank of America, Disney. He currently leads the technology division at Virgin Voyages, a cruise line founded by Richard Branson. And for the past 5 years, Frank and his wife, Natalie, who I also saw here, have been running the Acton Academy, a remarkably non-traditional K-12 school in Coral Springs. And with that, I will hand it over to Frank, who's going to unmute himself and lead the show. Thanks.
Thanks, Doug, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm honored to be moderating this important discussion for our civic candidates. Our esteemed panelists are going to start out with a 5-minute introduction of themselves and share a little bit about their deep investment in the future of Parkland. But before we get to the candidates, I wanted to introduce Mayor Rich Walker to say a few words. Mayor, floor is yours.
Great. Thank you very much, Frank. And obviously, we want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for always being an active partner in our community. Having this type of event is great for the residents to have an opportunity to hear from the candidates. We have 2 open seats. Bob Mayerson and Ken Cutler are both termed out. Neil Kanterman is running unopposed, and then Cindy and Howard are running for Bob or Ken's seat. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Ken and Bob for their years of service to the city of Parkland and Broward County as a whole. They've been tremendous assets to the city, to myself. We've served together for quite some time now, and I appreciate their friendship, their leadership, and just making Parkland a better place. I'm looking forward to the new commissioners that we're going to have here in November. So it's important that we take the time, we listen to what the candidates have to say, and make sure we get out and vote on November 5th.
Thanks, Rich. Now we'll move on to the candidate introductions. Each candidate will have 5 minutes to share about themselves and their vision of Parkland. Our first candidate is Howard Berger. Howard, you have the floor. Howard?
I just unmuted. Do you hear me?
There. Yes, now we hear you.
Yeah, okay. Let me just give you a background to who I am and why I think that I'm very, very well prepared to be a commissioner in Parkland. 40 years ago, in 1984, I became a city councilman in the city of Lauderhill, which is about 20 minutes south of Parkland. And I say councilman because in those days, the city, the commissioners, they were not called commissioners, they were called councilmen because we had a city council, strong mayor form of government. But that changed in the 90s. So I served in 1984. I was elected 40 years ago, and I went from 1984 to 1990. In 1990, in fact, I was a city council president. And as city council president, I chaired the council meetings, which is very similar to what the mayor does in a commission, city manager form of government like Parkland. 14 years later, in 2004, I got elected to the city commission. By that time, the name was changed to city commission because during the 90s, when the whole city government has changed. So I was elected in 2004 as a city commissioner, and I was reelected in 2008, 2012, and 2016. So I went from 2004 to 2020, but I was elected in March 2004. If I was elected, city elections would change from March to November, so I gained an additional 8 months. So actually from 2004 to 2020, I served really, I think it was 16 years and 8 months. But if you add on the 6 years that I have served in the 1980s, it's a total of 22 years and 8 months that I served in office. My fellow commissioners selected me to be the vice mayor. This was in 2005, 2011, and 2020. What happened in 2020, I could not run for re-election because of term limits. So I felt living in Lauderhill, the city of Lauderhill, for 45 years was enough. And I wanted to move to a city that I thought was beautiful and tranquil and had that small town feel. So I decided to move to Parkland. So I came here to Parkland. Now, let me tell you, when I was a commissioner in Lauderhill, and what makes me so very prepared to be a commissioner here in Parkland was the fact that when I was in Lauderhill, I did serve in a city that was significantly bigger than Parkland. It had a bigger budget. The population was double the population of Parkland. And while I was there, I served under many capital improvement projects, new city hall, the development of a political action, of the performing arts center. We had a police department, a fire department, and a water department, which was, of course, budgets that I had to review and approve, which you do not have in Parkland. You don't have a police department and a fire department, a water department. Also, I lived through, I served during an annexation process where we annexed additional communities that took in 10,000 more people. So this enriched my experience as a commissioner in Lauderhill, which in turn only added to my preparation as a commissioner here in the city of Parkland. Also, I served there in a city which was a majority-minority commission, and this also gave me a very good experience. And you would think that because I served as I was a commissioner in a majority-minority commission, that I would have a challenge getting reelected, but I did not, because the people there, my constituents and community partners, saw that I had their back and I had their concerns, and I worked very hard for them. And that's why they always elected me, re-elected me, re-elected me, and re-elected me from 2004 to 2020. As a commissioner in that city, I have produced a lengthy and impressive legislative record, and I'd be glad to show that, show that to you, to anyone in the audience who's interested in seeing it. I could, but the thing is, because of our time constraint, I don't think I'll be able to do that. But I'd be happy to do that at a later point in this session later on in the morning. Also, there were numerous special events that took place in the city, which I created and I chaired. 2005, 2006, 2007. I was the creator of the Lauderhill Hispanic Festival, very large festival where there was nonstop entertainment on our showmobile. Then there was a Community Awareness Day, which ran for about 5 years. This was an event that took place in various neighborhoods of the city. And I had numerous vendors there giving out information to the public on their services and their products. And several years I gave out hundreds of backpacks to students, because I remember that event took place before the start of the school year. And from the last 6 years that I served, I think it was from 2015 to 2020, I was,
I just want to let you know we're at the 5-minute mark, and if you want to,
yeah, okay. Let me just say I try to. I've gotten many awards. I can't mention because of the time constraint. Let me go through them very fast. 2011, the Friend of the Lauderhill Regional Chamber of Commerce. 2016, I got the Men of Distinction Award from the Lauderhill Chamber of Commerce for a panel discussion I took part of. 2018, I was very proud to get the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Lauderhill Regional Chamber of Commerce. 2017, the Jamaica USA Award from the Jamaica USA Chamber of Commerce for Distinguished Public Service. It's unfortunate that the time is not really allowing me to talk more about my accomplishments, but hopefully that later on in this forum, I will be able to do that.
thank you very much, Howard. Next up, we'll have Neil Kanterman. Neil, while not running for re-election right now, I was hoping you could maybe share a few words of encouragement and wisdom from your time in office for the new candidates.
Hi, my name is Neil Kanterman. I'm very happy to be proud to be serving the city of Parkland as the District 4 Commissioner starting this November. First of all, I'd like to thank Doug and Cindy and the rest of the chamber staff for organizing this forum. If you are in business in and around Parkland and you're not a chamber member, you really need to be. It's an incredible resource. I've personally found it very helpful. I also want to thank all my campaign supporters, especially my biggest supporter, my wife, Andrea, because without them, this absolutely would have been impossible. I'd also like to thank Bob Mayerson and Ken Cutler for their many years serving the city on the dais and wearing many other hats. Finally, I'd like to thank my opponent, Golden Johansson, who I know is logged in here. We met as candidates for the same seat. We sat next to each other at meetings. We talked many times, and we both committed to making this a positive experience and serving as a role model for our kids and for the community. And she absolutely lived up to that. I received so many positive comments from observers that watched us as that's the way it should be. And I want to thank her for that. So who am I? I'm a practicing pediatric ophthalmologist. I've had the privilege of caring for the children of South Florida for about 20 years. I first moved to Parkland way back in 1991. I was in college and my parents had moved to the apartment complex on 441 and Holmberg. Back then, it was the Winter Circle. Now it's Ibis Landings, just changed names again. At the time, Parkland had about 3,500 residents. I met my wife by that pool and we got married about 6 years later. After I graduated medical school at U of Miami, my medical training took me to some far away and whimsical places like Detroit, Michigan, and Atlanta, Georgia. But we always knew South Florida was going to be our permanent home and where we wanted to raise our children. We were thrilled to be able to return back here to Parkland in 2018. We closed on our first newly built home in the community of Cascada, where I had a 4-bedroom, 10-bathroom because of all the porta potties that were outside. And in 2021, we moved from Cascada to Pine Tree Estates. Fell in love with the Pine Tree lifestyle, the chickens, the land, not so much the roads, but we're working on that. I have a 25-year-old son, Matthew, who lives outside Phoenix. I've got a 23-year-old Samantha, who lives right across 441 in Coconut Creek. She serves as the executive pastry chef at the Ritz-Carlton in Fort Lauderdale, so go there for some yummy treats. And my wife and I own a small business in Parkland here, CrossFit Hardcore West. We're on 441 in Riverstone Shops, and we have been there for more than 10 years, working hard to share a fitness and health lifestyle with our community. So I get asked all the time, why? Why would you do this? And it's usually with a look that doesn't quite feel like envy. And that story's a little bit long to fit in the 5 minutes, but I can certainly share the important points. Back in 2020, when COVID forced us to lock down, close our businesses like everyone else, our little gym was, of course, included. But when the phases of reopening were announced by our state leadership, Broward County decided unilaterally and without a shred of evidence to support the decision to not include gyms like ours in the plan to reopen. Not a lot of explanation was given, and there wasn't really a date that we can expect to be allowed to open. And some decisions were made that I, as a physician and a gym owner, someone who's uniquely qualified to understand this, this problem, couldn't understand. So we organized with some fellow gym members, and we reached out to our local leadership. I reached out to then my commissioner, Rich Walker, Christine Hunchovsky, Mike Udine, among many others, and everybody was absolutely instrumental. They gave us guidance and support. Their advocacy was able to allow me to get my message through to the decision makers and made an actual difference. It worked. We were rightfully allowed to reopen our doors. And that experience really flipped my whole idea of politics on its head. And it made me realize how important local, city, and county politics are to the individuals of the community. I told my wife right then and there that at some point I need to take part in this, and I'm grateful that that will start this coming November. Thank you so much, Frank.
Thanks so much, Neil. Finally, we'll hear from Cindy Salomone. Cindy, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Frank, and good morning, everyone. I want to thank the chamber, our elected officials, our amazing city staff, and everyone else who took time to join. Would have loved to have done this in person, but Hurricane Milton created issues for us on that one. But just thrilled to be here. Really appreciate the opportunity. And I'm running for city commission as a 25-year resident. I'm proud and passionate about Parkland and our people. It's nonpartisan. So yes, I'm not naive. This is local government. There's a political aspect to it, but it's really about our residents and our community. And that is a piece of it that I focused on when I was making the decision and consulting with numerous people, including our elected officials, as well as now, and should I be elected. So it's also this pursuit of the seat, Ken Cutler's seat, is to give back to this community that has given so much to me and my family. So we moved here 25 years ago when my daughter was pregnant. But when my daughter was pregnant, oh, I need more coffee, guys. When I was pregnant with my daughter, hopefully, you know what, I'm knocking on wood right now, nowhere close to that. And we've been here for 25 years. We've seen this city expand and grow and progress in such a beautiful way with new residents of all ages, all family, different types of families. And we want, I think, from talking to numerous residents through the farmers market across the city, walking around the community by foot and distributing material and just getting information from residents as well as phone banking, I've learned that really our residents want to preserve the unique hometown family feel of our city. And that's also what I'm focused on. So during the time that we raised our daughters, here. They are now 24 and 21. My 24-year-old is out in the Pacific Northwest working for a nonprofit. My younger one is here in Florida and pursuing her master's in social work. We have been involved in the community, in the schools, in sports, supporting local organizations. My kids went through River Glades, then Park Trails as a rezone. They then went to West Glades and Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. So I've also been very engaged as a leader, as a volunteer, serving our community, whether PTSO, Best Buddies, debate, band, sports buddies, Acton Gardens, Parkland Library. And speaking of Acton Gardens, my younger daughter and I put a prom on for our Acton Gardens residents. It's been some years ago, but it was really special. And of course, a member of the awesome Parkland Chamber. So my experience here has been quite robust with involvement. Our daughters also survived the February 14th tragedy. And I, I think that it still needs to be talked about, just like any tragedy in our history, to ensure that we don't forget and we learn from it. Of course, we moved on after the tragedy. My daughters and I, my husband, we united with our community, Parkland, and across the country to rebuild, to promote safety and our collective mental health. I'm also a lawyer of 25 years. So part of that, even though some people don't like lawyers, I will say I'm a good one. And I've represented a wide range of diverse clients, individuals, small businesses, and corporations. And I've done pro bono work as well. So I think I can analyze the issues, the positions, bring people together, and understand diverse perspectives. And I will do that for our residents. So just to wrap up, I've also been involved in local government, and one of my honors was to be nominated and then appointed to serve on the City Commission Charter Review Board. And it serves the City Commission, the staff, and it was really review of the Constitution of our city, which was a great experience. So my priorities, and I hope to talk more about them, involve public and school safety, quality education, keeping our taxes low, reasonable, but also earning and deriving that greatest value from our hard-earned dollars, preserving our environment, and making sure that we are thoughtful, strategic, and planful with the growth that we're experiencing here in our amazing city. So I really do appreciate your time. I would love to earn your vote, and please vote no matter what, because obviously this is a very important election. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. We'll now proceed to the audience Q&A portion of the meeting. Remember, if you have questions, please type them into the chat box and the chamber team will forward them to me. Candidates, also, please keep your responses around 60 to 90 seconds to make sure we're able to cover all the questions that come up. For our first question, the first question is, what are your ideas on how to serve the growing Parkland population of 55 plus residents who don't use football and baseball fields? Cindy, how about if you go first?
Sure, Frank. So I'm a member of that 55 plus community, as much as I'd like not one. No. You know what? I think it comes with life, wisdom. There's a lot of things about getting older, so, that are a plus, but I am part of that population. And, yes, I've lived here 25 years, raised my family here, but I am an empty nester. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to do this was, time is more available now. I think there's a lot that Parkland offers to all ages, but I will say that I believe that this Village in the Park out west that our commission and staff are working hard to develop and ensure that it aligns with the character of our city will offer awesome opportunities to all ages, whether it's beautiful restaurants that, now we need to go to sister cities to maybe find, something different. We've got some good restaurants now, but, something different. We're going to have several restaurants. We'll have shopping. We'll have fitness activities. We're going to have walking paths, benches, green space. I think all of that is attractive to all ages of residents. And also, I've talked to a lot of residents that fall in my age group, 55 and older, and they have some great ideas. So we also need to bring together, you know, those residents with the city, as well as the chamber and others to plan and, you know, focus on their ideas as well.
Thank you, Cindy. Howard, same question to you. What are your ideas on how to serve the growing Parkland population of 55 plus residents? Howard, I think you're muted.
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. I happen to fit into that category. Don't tell anybody though. So there's a lot that can be done in Parkland. We do have 2 assisted living facilities. We have Allegro, and we have Four Seasons, which is 55 and over, and we have the Falls. So we do have a big 55 and over population. And fortunately, the city is addressing them because we do have senior programs, much of which is funded by community development grants, and that's a good thing. But I think that this is a good time to say that I do feel that the city does need a building, which is a community center that has a large room that people can rent from the city, put on social events, and that would be good for seniors. Something, you know, somebody wants to rent it for any type of, let's say, a party or a banquet or whatever, a nonprofit organization or a business, they could do that. It should have a stage. Most cities in the area do have that. And I think Parkland should have that too. We don't have that. We have a gym, which also has a few multi-purpose rooms for, you know, Pilates and yoga and all that. And we do have an amphitheater so people can come to, but there, you know, you sit on the ground and you have to drag your lawn chairs and you get rained on. But we need an indoor community center that people can rent for events. And I think the seniors would like that too. So I think we should look at our senior programs and definitely, you know, fund that good. And that's good because we do have a senior population. As I say, I would be the person on the city commission that falls into that category. So there's a lot we can do for seniors.
Thanks, Howard. Next question. Prior to running for the Parkland Commission, what specifically have you personally done as far as civic duty and volunteerism in the city of Parkland? Let's start with Howard. Would you like to go first?
Okay, I can do that. Let me just check something over here. If you give me a second here. Well, I have donated to Make Our Schools Safe, Parkland Cares. I've donated to the Parkland 17 Memorial Fund, also Shine MSD, if you've heard of that, and also Stand with Parkland. As far as being involved in Parkland, I've been a volunteer with Make Our Schools Safe. I attended the strategic planning sessions for the past 3 years in the library. I attended community forums that were put on by the chamber and a local realtor. I attended public workshops on the development of the Heron Bay Golf Course. Also, I'm a member of the chamber, very proud to be a member of the chamber. I'm a member of the Friends of the Library and the Parkland Garden Club. I have met with city staff to prepare myself for this campaign and this election. I follow meetings a lot, many times online, not always going to City Hall, but many times online. I attended a meeting at the Marriott with Parkland and Carl Springs about the Heron Bay property. I also recently attended a meeting at Parkland Bagels with the chairperson of the school board to discuss school issues. I attended the CRA meeting at Pine Trails Park. So yes, I have been very much involved. Also, I attended a chamber meeting to discuss best ways to support businesses affected by the construction Loxahatchee, and I'd like to talk more about that later on when we do talk about the businesses in the chamber. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Howard. Cindy, prior to running for the commission, what have you done personally as civic duty and volunteerism for Parkland?
Thanks, Frank. So I mentioned some of this during the introduction. I have been involved, as I said, in the schools, on the fields, and in local organizations. So starting with the schools, certainly PTSO, supporting events, helping with homecoming, as well as after the tragedy, we had leaders, students appointed as leaders for mind-body medicine, and just helping, again, to promote that collective health. My younger daughter was one of those, and she actually poured herself into volunteering after the tragedy, but was very involved, all of our family before that. Also been involved in Best Buddies, parents, my kids, my daughters and I put together homecomings for Best Buddies. My younger daughter had several. She stays in touch with those parents, and so do I. Supporting of debate, band, which my daughters also participated in, and we know that we have a very strong band here in Parkland. I also actually coached. That wasn't, maybe the best fit for me, but I sure learned a lot and I had a lot of fun, and I think the kids did too. I've been part of the women's club, definitely attending, and then a supporter of the chamber. Really not missing meetings unless maybe I'm traveling on business. So it's been rare. Support of Acton Gardens, I mentioned that. I'm a friend of the library. And then post tragedy, February 14th, I've also been very involved in Parkland Cares, Eagles Haven, worked with Parkland Cares, Howard DeBorkin and Stacy Udine. I support Lori Al-Hadef and all the amazing things that she does that make our schools safe. She has been a pillar in the community, but also throughout the country. It's amazing what she and her family have done. So been very involved in all of those. Also been involved in just promoting mental health and preventing violence and hoping that we can stop this madness of shootings in the schools and really across our country. So been very involved, attended the chamber meetings for quite sometimes years, and all of the strategic workshops as well. And finally, being appointed to the Charter Review Board was a big one, because I definitely immersed myself more in the municipal constitution and what it means to our residents. And I'm proud to say that we have 4 amendments on the ballot that the Charter Review Board, me being a member, we brought it forward and they were adopted and are on the ballot for vote.
Thank you, Cindy, and thank you both for your contributions to the city. Next question is, in these divided times, what specific ideas or initiatives do you have planned to execute that will unite and enhance the city of Parkland as city commissioner? Howard? Howard, you're muted.
I see I get unmuted every time I finish speaking. If I may, I would like to point you to this beautiful magazine. This magazine is from the city that I came from. It's called the Lord Hill Spotlight. It's the official newsletter of the city, and residents get it in the mail 3 times a year. Now, if you look at the I know I'm under a time constraint. The magazine is a beautiful magazine. It has a lot of information in here that is of interest to the residents. It has messages from the fire chief, the police chief, and the city manager. If you go into the center of the magazine, I don't know if you can see it though. Can you see it? If you go into the center of the magazine, there's messages from the commissioners and the mayor. It recaps events that took place in the city of Lauderhill, with beautiful pictures. There's information on schools, There's a calendar of events of city boards and city meetings. And the last couple of pages deal with the Parks and Recreation Department, and it goes into detail of different events that are taking place in the Recreation Department. The city of Parkland needs a version of this magazine to show up in the mailboxes of every home in Parkland and every business 3 or 4 times a year. This will make for a much more informed community and a much more close-knit and unified community to have a magazine like this. We do not have this. All we have now is we have an email that I think it's called Attachment to Parkland. If you subscribe to it, you get a heads up of the upcoming 2 or 3 events. That's all we have. It's not adequate. We need a beautiful magazine like this, which will unite the city and keep us totally informed of what's going on in the city. And it's a beautiful magazine. Here, the last page, you have all the information on how to contact city departments. It also has information that's of helpful to city residents. I mean, what can I say? This is what Parkland needs. Now, this is called the Lord Hill Spotlight. We don't have to call it the Parkland Spotlight. We can call it the Parkland Telegram, the Parkland. We can think of any name. Let's have a contest in the schools to come up with a name. But Parkland needs a magazine to show up in the mailboxes of every home and businesses 3 or 4 times a year. And I think that this will unite us as a city.
Thanks, Howard. Cindy, what are your specific ideas, initiatives that you have to unite and enhance the city of Parkland?
First of all, I want to say what a great question. You know, we do live in divisive times, and this is an opportunity, you know, across the country and the world. But here in Parkland, I would say that there are many ways, and I have ideas, but they also derive from talking with our residents across the city over the time that I've been here, but also definitely in the past year of speaking with so many. I will say we do have Parkland magazines. We have a Parklander that encompasses much of what my opponent was referencing. It's not called City of Parkland Spotlight, but there's the Parklander, there's the Wedge, Parkland Wedge, and they're wonderful magazines, and they come out monthly. Yes, there's also some media newsletters. I would say, and I've given this a lot of thought and actually spoken with my kids about it over time, is, you know, the city itself could do a monthly message board type email. And I think that that could be a way to highlight much of the relevant information in commission meetings, which, you know, residents really should attend, whether virtually or in person, to understand the issues and express their views, ideas, questions. But it would be something that would encompass objective information, provide, you know, we can also highlight a small business in a particular industry, as well as a resident that's gone above and beyond. So then also, though, I think one of the ways to unite our residents for new and existing and bringing the chamber together with the city and tapping into our realtors, which we have amazing, and I'm proud to say that I'm endorsed by the Realtors Association, and it was a wonderful experience, that they work together and that we do something more formalized around a welcome package, and to ensure that these new residents and even existing and small businesses, the local businesses, are able to know what our city offers. I've talked to a lot of residents that ask me, you know, I had this contractor and I had a bad experience. They came from, you know, someplace outside Parkland. So bottom line, there are a lot of ways to do this, but, you know, one last thing I want to say is the mentorship program that I've thought a lot about too. And this could bring our 55 and older community into, I think, bringing us all together as well. So residents of all ages, is mentoring students, young people, and small business owners so that they can learn about Parkland, they can learn about being entrepreneurial, they can learn from the wisdom and knowledge of our residents, of people again of all ages.
Excellent. Thank you, Cindy. Next question is, what are your ideas for the development or your understanding of our current plans and ideas for the development of the land that's been purchased on the Heron Bay Golf Course? Cindy?
Yes, this is of course an important one. There's a lot of growth that we've experienced, but the purchase of that land over off, Heron Bay off of Coral Ridge Drive has been a big one. And I will say that this commission has tackled so many important, yes, issues, but also made exciting progress. And their plan, and it aligns with my vision, is to make that village in the park a place that is, again, aligns with our character, ensuring that we provide that green space, the walking paths, the benches, the restaurants, the local businesses, which will not only support those local businesses, support our residents coming together in this gathering place, but also derive revenue to keep our taxes at the really the average low that the commission and our city staff has been able to do. And I would say that, when we think about purchase of that land, it could have been by any entity, anyone that could have put houses. We know we're going to have 52 single family homes, but it could have been homes, across, or commercial, some kind of commercial development that would not align with our character of our city and please our residents. So this way, we control our future, we control our destiny. And I know that there's a continuous bi-directional feedback with residents. Designs have even been altered or revised based on feedback. Thank you, Frank.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Howard, your thoughts? Howard, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I know I have to unmute myself every time I speak. Whatever goes there, of course, has to be in line with the character of Parkland as a very low density city with basically has a country's suburban atmosphere. Whatever goes there has to meet with the approval of the residents in Heron Bay. And of course, any businesses that go there should be high-end upscale businesses. The community center that I had talked about, which we don't have, every city has one, we don't have one. A community center where a person can rent from the city to put on a birthday party or a graduation party. It could be used by a nonprofit organization. It could be used by a business. It could be used by the city itself or by the chamber. The chamber too could use that. So I know next week the chamber has to cram into the children's library to do the Women's Empowerment Network. This would be a beautiful community center. Maybe it could hold up to 200 people. It could be beautiful events there. It will have a stage. That would be a good location for it, definitely, because all the other cities around us have that. We do not have that. That would be a nice thing to have over there at the village. But mainly high-end businesses, high-end restaurants, something that people can come to enjoy. Very, very important. I think we do that. It has to meet definitely with the approval of the residents in the area. They should be the guiding force.
Thank you, Howard. A quick 30 seconds from you. Do you have any different thoughts on the land at the southwest corner of University and Trails End?
Me? Talking to me? No, I don't see any issues coming up with that right now. From what I understand, I was told that land is owned by the hospital district and also the company that owns the Parkland, the Commons in Parkland. But right now, I don't see anything coming up in there. Again, that's something else when it comes up. It has to be in line with what residents want. And when we go through the special to the land development process and the zoning process, make sure that is something that's low density. And always, whenever there's very little development left in Parkland, but our main priority should always be noise and traffic abatement. Very important. but there's very little land left to develop.
Thank you, Howard. Cindy, any quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I agree with Howard. We need to absolutely be mindful about noise and, traffic. So, but that land is owned by the school board and hospitals. So while there will be bidders, and we know it could be a medical center, we don't, locally here, Parkland, the commission, the staff don't have a lot of control over it. But hopefully that will be something that will align with our city character and will not increase traffic and noise.
Very good, thank you. And a follow-up, how can we better control crime and people driving through our city at high speeds, including going into ungated neighborhoods and scouting homes? Is there anything you have any ideas on how to help with that? Cindy?
Yes. So I do. I think a very important thing is to continue to ensure that we provide the resources and funding to our police. And they are, along with fire, our first responders are stretched a bit. We've had a lot of growth. We have Allegro now, that is, independent and assisted living. I have spoken with fire and police, both of which have endorsed me. So I'm really grateful for that. And, they have shared with me firsthand that, calls are definitely on the rise and have been. So we need to dedicate the resources needed to control that crime and to control our ability to, ticket people that are driving through our city at high speeds. We need to be able to control this, scouting of homes. And how do we do that? We work together as residents. We've got neighborhood watch, extremely important, but we also need to ensure that our first responders have the resources they need to support us and keep us safe.
Thank you, Howard. And before you start, somebody just asked me a good question. Why am I not calling on Neil? And that would have been a nice thing to start the conversation with. Neil and I spoke a couple of days ago. He's not running opposed, and so he graciously gave his airtime to the two candidates that are opposing one another. So wanted to put that out there. It's not that I don't like Neil. I think Neil's wonderful. And if anybody has any questions specifically for Neil, I'm happy to put those on the table. And I messaged Neil in background just to let him know if you want to chime in on anything, feel free. So sorry about that kind of confusion. Howard, any thoughts about the ideas on how to keep speeding in keep speeding from happening in our neighborhoods and controlling crime?
Yes, absolutely. What I want to do in Parkland, which we had in my previous city where I was a commissioner, I want to create a citizens police academy. Now, I understand the BSO does have that, but I want to create this here in the sheriff's office in Parkland. And basically what the Citizens Police Academy is, it's a course that any resident or business owner in Parkland can sign up for. They will go one night a week to the police headquarters in Parkland, where they will learn about the operation of the police department, of the sheriff's office, from sheriff's office staff, to learn about the different units, the criminal investigations, traffic, whatever you. The course meets one night a week. It'll last about 6-7 weeks. At the end of the course, they do get a nice diploma. It costs them nothing at all. And I want to have that here in Parkland at the sheriff's office for any resident or business owner. Also, another thing I want to say is Parkland, like other cities, has a Citizens Observer Patrol. And what they are is they're volunteers that basically drive around the city, and they're the eyes and ears of the police department. Now, we have 5 volunteers. We had 2, but now they're up to 5, and that's great. But they're not driving around the city to see any problem areas and not driving around the city. Basically, they're just going to events in the park, which is not necessary because the police are there. You have the park rangers are there, the CSAs are there. The reason why they're not driving around because they don't have a car. I'm sure somewhere in the city or the BSO, there's an older car that's not being used that we could put a decal on the door that says Parkland Citizens Observer Patrol. We don't need 5 cars because the 5 guys about 5 volunteers we have are not driving around all at once. We need 1 or 2 cars so they can drive around the city in different areas and be the eyes and ears of the police. So we need that. Another thing too is, which I was informed when I spoke to the police, is that we have a mobile license plate reader at every entrance to the city. But what I would like, and also what the police would like, is to have a permanent license plate reader at every entrance to Parkland. And I don't want it so much for vehicular violations. I want it to help try to resolve any criminal activity that's taking place in Parkland. So that would be a permanent license plate reader at every entranceway into Parkland. I know Parkland has 8 entranceways that I counted. So those things I think would be very, very good.
Thank you. Thank you, Howard. Neil, did you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, number one, the city of Parkland has had a nice long relationship with our BSO police team. And I think what they tell us is the best way to handle problems like this is generally going to be the way we should go. We also really need to better educate. A pattern we see commonly in our low but present crime statistics is mistakes made by community residents, leaving cars unlocked being a massive one. So maybe a bit of an education campaign to make people realize what their role is in maintaining the safety of their property might go a long way in helping to reduce the already significantly low crime we've got.
Thank you, Neil. Final question before we have closing comments. Living near Stoneman Douglas, I've noticed a concerning increase in traffic congestion during drop-off and pickup times. Law enforcement is giving many traffic tickets to address the safety, which I support, but this is not the solution. Maybe adding designated drop-off spots or expanding the roads could help. It is not fair for people who need to drive to their jobs, and it is not safe for the kids and when parents need to drop them off in the middle of the streets. What solution to this problem would you suggest, and do you have plans to tackle it? Cindy?
Yes, thank you for the question, Johanna. And I'm a parent that, as I indicated, raised my kids here. And so I understand from elementary to middle school to high school. And I know that our force is working on this, Captain McCardle. My understanding is there is a plan and they understand the need for designated drop-off spots. This has not been ideal. We know that unfortunately, even when you designate those, some will violate it and risk that ticket, but it's not safe and it creates congestion. So I understand that that is being worked on. I do know, though, in the meantime, tickets are issued because it's hope, to be, right, a mitigator. And so I would say that I would absolutely support designated drop-off areas. Expanding the roadways is an interesting one. We know that the golf cart, I'll just call it an initiative, is something that's being considered. And if that were to come to fruition, our sidewalks would be expanded, and perhaps then parents, right, and would be bringing their kids via golf cart. So that may be an ultimate future solution. But in the meantime, I know that Captain McCardle and others are working on this. And I think we all agree it's an issue and it needs to be addressed.
Thank you, Cindy. Howard? You're muted.
Okay, I'm sorry. I trust the sheriff's office knows, best what they need to do to prevent any type of congestion or backlog there. But the main issue lately that has been taking place in school zones has been speeding. And I just want to say that I am not at all adverse to having cameras there to clock the speed of drivers in school zones. Okay, that's been an issue. It's been in the newspaper a couple of times. The only thing I will say that if Parkland does go ahead, I know they're considering it. If Parkland does go ahead with cameras to clock the speed of drivers in school zones, I would want the first ticket, however, to be a warning, not a ticket, but a warning. And then after that, any ticket the driver gets, I would want it to be only if they're doing 11 miles or more over the speed limit. I believe the speed limit is 15 miles per hour during the allotted time. But, I think a lot of police officers would not give a ticket if they were doing 16, 17 miles an hour. So I would only want a ticket to be issued by the camera if they were doing 11 miles or more over the speed limit.
Thank you, Howard. Cindy, we have one question that has not been asked. Is it okay if we go over, or would you like us to wrap up?
So I put something in the chat saying that we might run over a few minutes. I want to remind everybody the session's been, it's being recorded as well. So we can also, well, if you have to log off early, but I think we should try to answer a few more. The only thing we'll have at the end is just to say a few chamber announcements before we completely wrap up. I do want to ask one thing, as long as I've interrupted now. Bob Mayerson actually asked me a great question, which is if there are some additional questions that come up and that the candidates haven't had a chance to address them, we will publicize the Parkland email address, and people can email us, and we will then forward it to the candidates. And when we send out the recording, we could perhaps include any written answers to anything that wasn't addressed.
That's a great question. Thank you. Okay, the last question I see is from Golden. Who is paying for all these programs and magazine mailings? Does the city have the funds set aside to support these kind of initiatives without increasing taxes? Howard?
Yes, the city is in good shape. In fact, the tax rate, I'm very proud of this. The tax rate in Parkland is amongst the lowest in Broward County. So we do have money. The money is there. We're not talking about a very large expenditure of money. A magazine being mailed out 2, 3 times, 4 times a month to residents, detailing them what's going on in Parkland, would be a valuable asset to the residents of Parkland. It's not a lot of money. Just believe me, it's not a lot of money.
Okay, Cindy?
Well, I will say, as far as programs, those ideas that I've set forth, and several, are based on sort of brain sparks after speaking with residents. For instance, the mentorship program. I see that as a volunteer program. I could see our advisory board helping to support and organize something like that. And then have, again, that 55 and older community. I'd like to believe that I've been on this planet long enough to provide some wisdom and knowledge. And, I've worked in law firms, corporations, volunteered in different organizations, and mentorship programs are wonderful. So I don't see that a lot of these programs would cost much money. I do think that, a bit more funding for the chamber could be really good. And that I do think that because the budget has been balanced so well, that could be available. And then, as far as the monthly message board I mentioned, that would just be more resource to develop that email content. But there are ways that we can do that, and that may also be in just bringing forward boards that are nominated by the commission to help with that. Thanks for the question, Golden.
Thank you, Cindy. And thanks to everyone at the chamber for the thoughtful questions. as we wrap up, I'd like to give each candidate, including Neil, the opportunity to have a minute or so of closing comments. Neil, would you like to kick us off?
Sure. Thanks again, Frank. Again, I want to thank the Parkland Chamber for organizing this. This is not an easy thing to put together, and I think it's going to be very helpful for the community and learning a little bit about all three of us, and particularly about making a choice for the District 3 election, which, by the way, is indeed, remember, not everyone realizes it's a city-wide election. Everybody votes for all the districts, so you're not just voting within your district. Everybody, please get out and vote.
Thank you very much. Howard?
Thank you. Yeah, I thought that I would have the opportunity to talk more about the chamber, because this is a chamber event, and I would like to talk a little bit about my vision for the chamber and as it ties into the city. Because when I have multiple awards from the Lauderhill Regional Chamber of Commerce, where I was a stalwart supporter of that chamber. I like to see the Parkland Chamber be more involved in marketing the city as well as businesses. There should be workshops on marketing, contracts and bidding, grants, youth mentorship, customer service. There should be a business procurement boot camp to help businesses grow and collaborate with other business leaders. A virtual course for business leaders to acquire knowledge taught by business leaders. There should be a program called Shop Parkland, encouraging people to support our small businesses. Also, I think the chamber should learn more about Parkland's purchasing projections and information on bids, as well as resources from the Small Business Administration. Now, I will sponsor an ordinance. If it's not, I will make sure that Parkland's businesses and chamber business members have preferential access to city bids and purchases on a point basis. I think I want to see city businesses and chamber members have preferred status on the city's vendor list. Also, I will sponsor, as I have done before, an ordinance providing economic relief for business owners who lost revenue from decreased patronage caused by road construction or natural disasters like hurricanes. And of course, this will depend a lot on the type of businesses and determine on a case-by-case basis. Business will submit an application with supporting documents. Also, I would like the city to consider a micro loan program to help small businesses access financial capital that they haven't before, to help them with their equipment and their capital, as well as their, working capital.
Howard?
Yes, am I through already?
Yeah,
I'm almost through. The Parkland Chamber should collaborate with the Broward County Tourism Development Agency on a marketing plan. They have a marketing plan called Visit Lauderhill, and we should have a marketing plan called Visit Parkland, and it will have social media, and it will give out information, print information to promote the chamber and the city. But what I want to say, I know I'm really under a time constraint, and it's hard when I'm under a time constraint. Number one, doing everything I want to do for the chamber. The chamber should be a resource center for people who want to come to it and learn what they need to do to open the business in the city, as well as people who are thinking about moving into the city. The chamber needs really a physical space, which it doesn't have. So I think that next year, when we pick a developer for the village, I think the city has leverage, and the city should talk to the developer and see that in exchange for what we are doing for the developer, perhaps if the developer can provide for us, can accommodate the chamber with some space which is physically feasible for the chamber to maintain. And also, I agree with
Howard, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt. I really appreciate this on behalf of the chamber. I'm actually gonna ask that you stop here at this point because we're trying to wrap up and give everybody.
All
enough
right,
time.
okay.
And we can talk separately offline about some of your.
Because I do have a lot of ideas for the chamber. I
Yeah,
got
thank you.
really, but I just wanted to say
Thank
that
you.
I support funding for the chamber
Thank
out
you.
of the city budget. Okay,
Thanks.
thank you very much.
Excellent. Cindy, you want to wrap us up?
Yes, and I know that people need to get, or 7 minutes after, people need to proceed with their day, but I want to thank everyone again for taking this time to join this forum. It's been a pleasure. So I believe in doing what's right for our residents in our city. I've done that over the 25 years I've been here. I will do it if I have the honor of being elected, and that's even when it's challenging. I'm committed to our community and advocating for our residents' best interests with open communication and accountability, promoting engagement. And so I would greatly appreciate your vote. It would be an honor to earn it. So I can represent you as Parkland City Commissioner and effectively represent, again, the people of Parkland, and making sure that we just continue to thrive and make this beautiful town a wonderful, special place to live and work. And if you have additional questions for me, don't hesitate. I know Cindy said you're gonna, allow for emails. That's great. I've spoken to so many residents that have emailed me, called me, or when I'm just walking around the town. And so don't hesitate. And my website is cindyforparkland.com. So feel free to check that out as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cindy. And I believe we have a few chamber parts of business, and then we'll be concluding the forum. Any announcements, Cindy? Other Cindy?
Yes, well, I'm the other Cindy. So I just want to, on behalf of the chamber, I want to say thank you so very much to the candidates, to Mayor Walker, and certainly to Frank. You were an excellent moderator and kept us going, which is great, and I know a little challenging. So you were awesome. Doug Eaton, for any of you on the Zoom who don't know him, he is the president, but he had to log off. He had an appointment that he was unable to change. But we all want to thank you, as well as just a couple of things about today's session. So it's being recorded. We will put it on our YouTube channel. We'll send a link here to everybody here who's on, but then also on social media, and we'll send out an e-blast with that link. And please feel free to share it with anybody who might be interested. Additionally, as I said earlier with Bob Mayerson's suggestion, if you have a question, you can email. We'll have our email address, info@Parkland Chamber. You can email us and we will forward that to the candidates and have them have a chance to do a written response that we can try to share as well. Lastly, I just wanted to say a couple of updates for some chamber events. The 23rd, Wednesday, we're having a luncheon sponsored by Broward Health, and it's focused on men's health. It is open to everyone. Women should be there as well. So please register on our website. We have our next breakfast, which of course we hope is in person, is going to be Networking for Good. We had this last year. It was one of our best attended events. And it's a chance for all of our nonprofit members to be highlighted. So that's an excellent, really wonderful event. We hope you'll join us. And then also November 6th is going to be our next after hours, and that's going to be at Pizza Time and Parkland, and they are one of our new members. So that'll be a nice way to support them. We have lots of events coming up in the meantime. We have a ribbon cutting actually also Thursday, the 24th at Renfield and Cabrera, and that's a family event. They are doing a Halloween theme and doing lots of things for families. So you can check all of those things on our website. You can register for everything. Really, I think that's it, except stay safe in the storm, and definitely let's just send a little prayer and a shout out to our Western Florida neighbors and hope everybody stays safe. So from the chamber, I think that's really it. Frank, do you have any last remarks?
Nope. Thanks for everyone's deep engagement. Really appreciate the dialogue today.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, very much. We're going to end the session now, but feel free to email us with any follow-up questions you have. And thanks again for everyone.